Dumelang, dumelang, legay. Hi, Lina Laka ke Imbali Blooming, and I am your host here at the Sound on Siren podcast. Welcome to Conversations with My Grandmother. This is the next season of Sound on Siren. So, I'm going to teach you how to greet in my language. As I started the episode, I was saying dumelang, and that is how you greet in Setswana. So, Setswana is one of the native languages in South Africa, and it is my grandmother's language as well, which is makes it my paternal language. So you say dumelang. And dumelang ka Setswana is a question that you ask when you are about to encounter somebody, when you are greeting them, when you're engaging and acknowledging them. And the question that is housed within dumelang is really this question or consideration of whether or not you are agreeing to be part of this interaction, to be part of this conversation. So when somebody says to you, dumelang, you will say dumela if you're speaking to one person, or dumelang if you're speaking to more people. And then they will ask you legay, which means how are you? And then you will say reteng or repetse. Reteng is we are here, and repetse is we are living well. We are living well, or we are living. So dumelang, legay. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Keep practicing because in this new season of the podcast, I'm going to be talking to my grandmother. That's why I've titled this Conversations with My Grandmother. I have a strong spiritual relationship with my grandmother. I had a strong relationship with my grandmother when she was here because I lived with her and my grandfather when I was much younger, and she really continuously instilled in me this assurance, this confidence that I'm a star, that there is something within me that she can see long before I even recognized it in myself. She was able to see this star. She was able to see this light. She was able to see me for who I was, in the many ways that I offer myself, my life, my lived experiences out to people, share them, talk about them continuously, etc. So she knew that I was a baddie. She knew that I was a baddie. So, Kuku, this season of the podcast is dedicated to you. All season long, I'm going to be hosting conversations and having conversations either directly with my grandmother, conversations that I would love to have had with her, or conversations that I would love for her to have heard and to be a part of and to hear. So these are some of my interests that I know for sure my grandmother would also be very, very interested in. So thank you for joining me. Also, if you are new to the podcast, welcome. We are also brand new to being on YouTube. So you can watch us on YouTube because now we are officially on YouTube. It's very interesting because I started 2023 with two main intentions. There's been an overarching intention that I have set forth for myself for my 30s. I'm 31. I'm turning 32 March of 2024. And in 2021, I had set out this intention for my 30s, this overarching intention, Goku, to really dedicate my 30s to my craft, my musical craft, my craft as an artist, And we are a year in. No, we're 2 years in, obviously, because all of 30 and then 31 Zui. We're 2 years in, and Kuku, just one triumph after another, one opportunity after another, one challenge after another. But really just seeing development and growth in such a beautiful way, in such a slow becoming way. I'm really, 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 really excited and very thankful to myself for having even put out that intention for my 30s, that real, like, what do I want to dedicate my 30s to? So in 2022, I did something very similar. And I said, what do I want 2023 to be about? And there were two key things that I started off the year, Coco, really thinking about and saying, this is what I envision to be the journey. This is what I envision to be the roadmap for my 2023 journey. So the first one was to be for my routine, for my daily routine throughout the months as well, for really 2023 to be captured by home, studio, work, studio, home. This is what I told my best friend Iman Selam when we were having a conversation about what we want our years to look like. And I said, you know what? I want it to be studio, home, work, studio. Like, I really want to be in the studio, cultivating, practicing, harnessing, honing my skill as well. And the second one was to build robust, healthy relationships with Black men in the city of Vancouver that didn't necessitate sex, that didn't necessitate sexual desire, that didn't necessitate sexualization, that didn't necessitate objectification, that were really about this wholesome connection that I could have with Black men, so I can find my sense of safety, Coco, so I can find my emotional safety with Black men, but also so I can get a better understanding. I don't know. I feel like I've always had this like missing, what do I call it? This missing understanding, this missing access almost into Black men and Black men's lives. And like, obviously there's not one type of Black man. And so I was very curious as to what these things could look like outside of sex with Black men. And I went about my year with these two intentions ready in my pocket, carrying them everywhere that I went. So I'm going to do my year in review for you, Coco. In January of last year, I was wrapping up my dance classes. July of 2022, I decided to be a dance teacher because I love dancing. Kuku, you know how much we love dancing. Everything in our culture is about dance, is about music, is about celebration, and there's so many things that we learn back home. There's so many things from a very young age, especially if you have a family that loves to dance, and loves music in this way. Like, Hubula sekele is what I'm talking about, really, is what I'm referencing. And that's what I referenced a lot in my dance classes. Hubula sekele, which is to widen the circle or people make when they're dancing together. And then everybody gets a chance to come into the circle, to dance, to show off your skill, to show off your personality, to self-express. And there was so much that I learned during those times growing up, dancing in those circles. Hubula sekele. I would be in the circle with my famous dance move and I would do this. Let me put my microphone down. This is what I would do. Touch me. No. And this was the song that I created, right? With the dance move. I was like, touch me. No. Touch me. No. And I'm gonna do another episode about this song in particular, Coco, but it was very fun to be able to create your own thing, and really a way for me, I found, to cultivate my personality and to really cultivate and start to work through my self-expression and what that looked like from a very young age. So I decided to do that in Vancouver. I was like, listen, in Vancouver, all of us go clubbing or dancing in one form or another. But I see, Kuku, when I'm around here in Vancouver, I see when we're at a party, batu ga ba danse, batu ga ba jive. They're standing up against the wall, Kuku. They're just standing up against the wall, and they are not dancing. They're just scouting. They're there to chill and stand around. And I said, no. What could it be that is holding people back? And I think it's the sense of embarrassment, when you're dancing or trying to do something new in front of a crowd of people. Potentially you don't know how to dance. Maybe you think you look goofy when you're dancing, but it's like, Dancing doesn't have to be about the choreographed move. Doesn't have to be about the TikTok dance challenges, you know? Dancing is really about the vibe, is really about the vibration of music through your body. It's about the way that your body responds to the music, you know? So I hosted these dance classes in order to remove that kind of stigma, that expectation of embarrassment, to remove the shame, to help people to really play around and vibe and groove and learn how to tap into the music beyond tapping into what other people in the area are doing, to really tap into the music and like enjoy the music through the body. So that's what I did in January, kind of wrapped off those dance classes. I learned a lot about doing that. I learned that thankfully, for whatever beautiful reason that I'm so grateful for, people always give me the opportunity to try. People always give me the opportunity to try, and people buy into what I'm doing. People really buy into what I'm doing, and I don't take that for granted, nor do I take it lightly that people buy into what I'm doing. I'm so very, very grateful for that. And I had two studios buy into my idea, my goal, you know, to give people in the community a place where they can express themselves, an opportunity where they can be. So we had classes at Left of Main in Chinatown, and then we had classes at Work Lab rather, on Venables, in East Vancouver. So that was pretty awesome. That's how my January started. In January, I also went to therapy for the second time around. I had done some therapy in 2021 before. I think that was my first kind of therapy that I did. And then I did a second round through the Vancouver Black Therapy Fund, which is a really, really great organization here in Vancouver, that fundraises so that Black people in Vancouver can have access to therapy for free, which is really awesome. It's really, really beautiful. And I was fortunate enough to receive that access twice. Yeah. And I don't take very lightly. Like, that was really awesome, and I was really able to work through a lot of things, you know, in that time. And so in January really was about connecting with community. I led a bunch of workshops. There was a workshop in a forest that I led, and then I also started offering meditations weekly at a studio. So that was January. January started off light, but started off with energy, you know what I'm saying? And then February is when I had my first photo shoot with the brand as a model. Cuckoo, your grandchild is a model. Something that I'd always wanted to do. But you know, the modeling agencies, they do not want people that are 5'4". They don't want people that are 5'4". I think you have to be, what is it, 5'7"? Is it 5'7"? Maybe 5'7" for women, right? To be a model, to be accepted into these modeling agencies, right? You have to be 5'9", and I'm 5'4". So there's a lot of times when I applied to different modeling agencies and they didn't take me. And I say, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. There'll be brands who want to work with me for their modeling because it's less about my height and more about the clothes that they're showcasing, right? So I had my first photo shoot, which is really, really awesome, in February. What's that song on TikTok? Mapupo fezega naming meli maliami naming meli motoyami. That was me. That was me in February. I was like, my people, they are fezegging. The dreams are coming true. I performed a couple of times on different panels about building sustainable communities, which was really awesome. I think, you know, I know that I have stuff to offer. You know, I know that I have opinions and perspectives that I hold as well about community, but it's really wonderful to be invited to be part of these conversations and larger discussions as well. And then we moved to March. So February was a bit like low key, you know what I'm saying? It was low key, cuckoo. We weren't doing much in February. Then came March, my birthday month, my delicious, delightful birthday month. This month, okay, more dreams were coming true. 2023 was about my dreams coming true. In March, I released my first single. Pew, 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 pew. People know the single already. Apocalyptic Sunset, you know. So I released my single in March, Coco, not even knowing what it means to release a single. Like, obviously, I know that people can listen to my single everywhere, anywhere in the world, whenever they want to. But it never really hit me until it was really out. And I started to see some of the analytics of who was listening, where people were listening. And I was like, wow, damn, this is actually a thing. Like people are listening to my song. Like people are listening to my song and they're listening to it everywhere, which is really awesome, which is really cool. And in March, I also performed to my largest crowd yet. I performed to 500 plus union workers, which is really, really awesome and amazing to really be able to captivate a whole room, like genuinely captivate a whole room with my performance was stellar. It was beautiful. It's what I perform for. It's what I do performance for, is to be able to captivate rooms, is to be able to captivate people and just for that moment, invigorate them. Yeah, give them the opportunity to like look through my lens, look through my lens. And my lens is always, I find this lens of hopefulness, this lens of optimism, this lens of try, keep going, keep trying. Oh, in March, I also turned 31 on my birthday. And I'm so excited to be in my 30s because my 30s, Coco, they are really showing me, my 30s are showing me that, like, yes, fine, like, no F's given, but also F's given. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot. There's a lot in the 30s. There's a lot in the 30s. Maybe once I'm 32 and like a few months, maybe halfway through the year, I'll kind of talk a little bit more about my 30s once I've experienced what 32 has to offer. And I tied off the month by booking myself into a recording studio to record my podcast because I was like, let's go, man. Let's take this podcast thing seriously. Come on now. Let's go into the studio. We have some chunkuris. We have some money that we can use towards the podcast. And I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Why are we waiting? And I really like that. So March was really infused with like a lot of robust joy and celebration and really courage of just diving in and doing things, just winging it and doing it anyway, doing it scared. In April, there was the Vancouver Poetry Grand Slam, the Vancouver Poetry House Grand Slam, and I came second, Gugu. I came second in the 2022-2023 Vancouver Poetry House Grand Slam by, okay, by 0.02 points. You know what I'm saying? I came second by 0.02 points. I was livid. I was livid. I was, congratulating the other person, absolutely, But when I went outside, I screamed. I screamed because, like, 0.02? 0.02? Really? Really? This is what we're doing right now? We're doing 0.02? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. But I was very proud of myself still for the first time, going the whole way within the whole Vancouver Poetry House year of kind of competing and being able to come second on my first time, which was absolutely awesome. Blew myself away, truly. So that was in April. And then I started hosting meditations at a second studio in April. And I became a so far artist in April. And then May said, may I take you to the stars? And something great happened in May. Two really great things happened in May. The first one was I was on a panel for Kokomo City. Kokomo City is a documentary about black trans sex workers in the US in particular, and we're getting told their stories, their lives about themselves from themselves as well. So we see kind of a myriad of experiences. We hear about some of the things that they experienced. We hear about some of the ways that they live their lives. We see some of it. And I got to be on the panel, which was really awesome. And then the second thing is that I met some of the greats. I met some of the greats, I met some of the great who that I admire because I listen to Zampa's music all the time. And Zampa came to Vancouver, did a show, and after the show, the folks that I was there with, we waited for a really long time post the show ending. waited, chill, 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 chill. Eventually, they came out. We went and we greeted Sampa. And during Sampa's show, which I didn't know, is that Sampa grew up in Botswana. So Sampa speaks Tswana. Sampa understands Tswana. And so we were outside and we were chatting. And I was just saying to her, I was like, Sampa, dude, I can't believe that you speak Setswana. Like I'm a Tswana person. Like that's so crazy. And then I did a little jingle for her. Tswana girls in the building. Tswana girls in the building. Tswana mate. Bari, Tswana mate. Tswana mate. Bari Tswana girls in the building, which was really awesome. And she danced and she really, really liked it. That was so great for me. And you know, I always believe that sometimes when you're meeting people along your journey, along your path, you know, they can act as a validator, they can act as a signal. And I was like, uh, I, I told Mama about it, and Mama was like, "Oh, Pali, that means that you're also so great to your own destiny, you know, in that way." And I was like, "Mom, exactly, exactly. I feel that. I feel that." So that was pretty dope. That was May. And at the end of May, we went home to South Africa. Yo, I was not expecting June to be this delicious. So in June, my niece was born. She is so cute. Letogutle Oratilwe Mkobeni. She is so, so cute. I'm absolutely in love with her. I sang to her the whole time that I was there, which was really, really, really awesome. And spent so much time with her in womb and also outside of my sister's womb. Um, it was really awesome. And when I was at home, I really reckoned with like my role, you know, and what role that I wanted to play. And but I'm, you know, queer and I'm non-binary, and I've always thought about like, what do I want? What is that tension that exists there? What do I want to be called? Do I want a different name? Do I want a particular way to be called, you know, to be named? And it wasn't until I was holding her in my arms that I was like, you know what? The role of auntie, the role that an auntie plays, regardless of sex, is such an incredible role, such a wholesome role, such a role that holds and carries, such a role that mentors, you know, a role that really stewards, you know, in many different ways, the life of this young child, this young individual, you know, as they're growing up. And I was like, frankly, you know what? I actually want to be an auntie. I'll be an auntie. I'm going to be an auntie. And so I became Auntie Reloaded and did the most for my niece because I absolutely love her. This was also the first time my parents together became grandparents, and it was so great. My mom's been looking forward to becoming a grandparent for so long, so her dreams came true, which was really awesome for her. And another thing that I realized when I went home is I had more of an opportunity to engage with the black men in my family. And I came to this realization. I came to the realization after being welcomed open arms, after my experiences, traveling with them, you know, going to different places, hearing different stories, talking to them on an emotional level, connecting to them on a level where I have never connected to them before, you know. I realized that in the beginning of the year, when I had that intention to build healthy relationships with black men, I thought it was only in Vancouver. I thought it was a Vancouver thing. But I think honestly, it was it was a home thing. It was a family thing. It was me seeking the safety of the black men in my family, where once I did not feel safe. You know, I didn't even feel emotionally connected to them, but it was this connection, you know, that I experienced for the first time, and maybe even for the first time that I was aware of it, in this way. And it was absolutely brilliant. I remember we were driving, I think Bese Fosloras. I think we were in Foslo, and we were driving around down the back road of this neighborhood, right? We're driving down the back road of this neighborhood, and then all of a sudden I broke down in the car, and I was just like, wow, I feel so held. I feel so touched by this experience, really, and being able to connect with them in that way. So home was really awesome for me. The last really big, wonderful thing that happened at home was I feel like my maturity for the first time in my age, obviously in the way that I carry myself, but also in my responsibility and duty at home, was so pronounced and was so, like, overwhelmingly welcomed and received. And I feel like, yes, obviously I know that I'm getting older and I'm in my 30s, but like in the West, for me, that doesn't really feel like anything. It doesn't really feel like it means anything. But when I went home, that historical, that historical understanding of what it means to age, what it means to gain responsibility and for your roles to shift within family and within community, it was so wonderful, so welcoming, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that was home. I also did a performance at home, which was really, really awesome. And then I came back to Vancouver in July. And in July, I did my first sofa performance. I think I had two performances that month. And then I found out that I have to leave my apartment very impromptu. So July was very like great celebration, but also needed to find a new place to live. Luckily, my roommate and I really kicked into high gear, treating finding a place to stay in this expensive ass Vancouver as a full-time job, and we were able to find somewhere to stay, which was really awesome. And so we hurriedly moved and packed up our lives, moved it over with the help of tremendous friends and care, came into this new space, and moved in and really started to cultivate a life here for ourselves. And so in August, we moved into that new space, and I was working very tirelessly all year on my EP in the studio at Helm Studios with Josh's help, which is really beautiful. Josh is an incredible producer. I would recommend him 10 out of 10. If you are wanting to work with somebody who will be able to translate whatever it is that you give him into what you actually see it to be and you vision it to be, but maybe you can't get it there yourself. So that was August. August was all about moving into a new place, making a new home. And then September, I was a guest on a couple of podcasts, which was nice. I had a whole bunch of panel talks that I was invited to. That was really awesome. Started playing around with the idea of performing with the live band. So I got a guitarist and a pianist to do a so far show with. We called ourselves See Where It Goes as well. It was a really, really good experience, a great learning experience. I think there's a lot of work still to be done on my end when it comes to being able to work with people so we can kind of understand what the vision is. But it was really, 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 really awesome. Garrett and why am I forgetting his name? Garrett and Johnny are really, really awesome people. And then in October, I started dipping my toes back into my tarot bag. I offered up 10 free tarot readings to the community on Instagram. Ended up being 15 free tarot readings, which was really awesome. And I was like, this is a service that people really need. So this year, definitely wanting to harness that a little bit more, give, that as an offering and a service of mine a little bit more, but also use it for myself more. I found that when I was shuffling for other people, I was more inclined to shuffle for myself. And so that's definitely something that I want to bring back this year. I also went to my first fashion week in October last year and had my second shoot with the same brand that I had a shoot with in the beginning of the year. November, really dipped into anti-war cry music, dipped back into, anti-apartheid solutions, anti-apartheid thought, anti-apartheid activists, in South Africa, as seeing what was happening in Palestine, and one of the roles that I see myself playing, and one of the things that I continually want to do is to invigorate the spirit, is to use music in the same way that music was used in anti-apartheid South Africa, in the same way that music is used all through revolution and freedom fighting, is to invigorate the soul, to nourish the soul, but to also send messages of hope, of resilience throughout, these songs, these experiences, these ways of being, but also very greatly in my performances to speak about these things, to presence these social issues that we're experiencing. So that was November, Coco. Invigorating the spirit for the people. And then I also started working for a NGO in November, which was really nice. I went to Banff in November as well. And Banff is a crazy place. Banff is a crazy place. I honestly, Coco, don't know how people do one of one still. I can't. I've struggled so much in Vancouver when I was a one of one, the only black person in the room. I can't do situations like those anymore. I just can't. I can't. They don't feel good in my soul. They don't feel right for me. I don't want to do the labor. It's way too much labor, and I don't want to do that kind of labor. I would rather not. So, although it was a great experience, great opportunity, great learnings about not only the opportunity itself, but also being in Banff in my capacity as a coach there, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. But one thing is for sure, I don't want to be a one of one. No, thank you. No, thank you. I also got an artist manager in November, which is really great. Somebody who's going to be able to support me, and hopefully we can catapult this artist career into a beautiful representation and kind of an offering to the world, for the world to continue, like I said, to invigorate the spirit in particular. I performed at the Fox Cabaret, which is a really great stage to be at for Horror in Seconds. Horror in Seconds is a BIPOC horror film festival hosted by Doa Magdi. And yeah, Doa did incredible for that. And I got to perform, which was really awesome. I love performing. Such a wonderful thing. But the Fox was on my list. I think the Fox was on my 2022 list of places that I wanted to perform in. And I performed there in 2023. So let's see. I put a lot of places on the list for this year. So let's see what happens. So let's talk December. In November. So in November, while I was in Banff, I'll do a little story time. So in November, when I was in Banff, I got the opportunity to meet somebody, which was really awesome. And in the midst of meeting them and hanging out with them, I really got an opportunity to see that, like, in my quest for love, romantic love, platonic love, but in this regard, in my quest for romantic love, there were certain instances where I was in situationships, right? Without really expecting to be in situationships. But I was in situationships thinking that these would maybe turn into relationships, right? At one point or another. But I was in situationships, and these situationships were making me feel like I was crazy. They were making me feel like I was asking for too much. They're making me feel like I was asking for too many things, given the capacity within which we are seeing one another. You know what I'm saying? But, like, to be emotionally available, is that asking a lot of somebody if you're seeing each other once a week? Is that asking a lot from somebody if you're seeing each other once a week for a year? Is that I don't know. Am I? Please, y'all, tell me if I'm losing it. But, like, in any case, there was a lot of things in these situationships that kind of made me feel like I was asking for too much. I was being unreasonable in what I was asking for. I was reaching for the stars. Meanwhile, I was here on the roofs. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they made me really feel as though I was asking for too much, and that I'm not a very demanding person, but, like, that I'm somebody who has high expectations, and maybe even expectations that are too high, unrealistic expectations as well, of, like, how to engage, how to connect, what building a connection looks like as well, And a beautiful thing happened in November when I was in Banff is that this person actually showed me that I'm not asking for too much, innit? That I'm not asking for too much. He drove all the way from Calgary to Banff to come and see me for 24 hours or less. Yeah, for 24 hours. But he drove from Calgary to Banff to come see me for 24 hours, and we had a blast. We had an absolute blast. Like, never ending conversation. Like, never felt like there was a weird pause. Also, never felt like anybody was interviewing anybody else. There was a reciprocity of curiosity and interest in the other person. There was a reciprocity of openness to be vulnerable, to share. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just so awesome. It was really my cup of tea. It was really, really, as the British say, it was my cup of tea. It was holistically my cup of tea, and the turnaround time of it was so quick and so easy. And I was like, I even asked him. I said, "Am I crazy for like wanting something like this?" And he's like, "No, you're not crazy for wanting something like this. This makes sense. This makes sense." And I was like, "It makes sense." So I said, "Huh? Huh? It makes sense." I wasn't asking for too much. I wasn't asking for too much. Okay? Get it together. Get it together. But honestly, I wasn't asking for too much. And like, I want what I want. I want what I want. And I know that some people can give it and some people can't give it. And I think at that point, I had really wanted this person or these people to give it to me. I wanted it to be them to give it to me because there were so many other good things. You know, there were so many other positive characteristics of the situationship that we were in. But I guess that's why it was a situationship and really nothing else. So that brings us to December, Kuku, just a few days ago, because it's only the 2nd of January that I'm recording this episode. And I spent the month solidifying my friendships, which was really awesome. Thinking and reflecting about my friendships, the type of friend that I've been, the type of friend that I would like to be, some of the characteristics and skills that I would like to improve on as a friend. And I had my first 3-day showcase. So in all of this year, I think I've had about 40 plus performances in different capacity, different places for the whole year. And it's been incredible. It's been incredible. But this was the first time from the 29th to the 31st of December where I did a showcase. I was part of a cabaret showcase and I did some covers. And there was a few things that I learned about myself in this 3-day showcase. You know, the first thing that I learned about myself was like, I can do a 3-day showcase. I can do a 3-day showcase, first of all. uh, uh, uh. And also, there's so much to learn when you're doing the same set over and over and over again. I learned how to get better at body control and voice projection control. I learned how to get better at asserting my needs and my desires and my vision for my set with the tech people, with the sound people, with a full live band behind me. I learned how to communicate with the band. I learned how to adapt, you know, throughout that whole situation, which is really, really big for me. Just, you know, now kind of coming into infusing music as a staple or a mainstay of why people would have me performing in their shows. The last thing that I learned is that I can sing songs that are not in English, my guy. I can sing songs that are not in English. And I've always had this apprehension, you know, because for me as an artist, I am a South African artist living in Canada. I'm not a Canadian artist. No, I'm not and I have no qualms or anything with being a Canadian artist, but I'm not a Canadian artist. I'm a South African artist living in Canada. My music, I want to tailor it for Africans, for Africa. My music and my work is really my ode to Africa, you know? But I've had this like apprehension to do music in my languages, to sing in languages that are not in English, you know, and afraid that people wouldn't be able to connect with it, that people wouldn't be able to understand it. But obviously that's false, because let's look at Afrobeats, look at Amapiano. You know what I'm saying? Music is global, taking over, because people feel the music. So that was the biggest thing, I think, out of all of these performances in 2023 that I learned. The biggest takeaway was I am going to do more me, and I'm going to do more me, which is infuse all my languages into my music, sing South African music, really, because it caters to my voice so well, and my voice caters to that music so well. And it's beautiful, and it holds, you know, such reverence as well in it, which is all that I could really ask for, really. So that is my year, Kuku. that is my year of 2023. Now, before the episode comes to a close here, I do have a wondering. I have a wondering because we know, going back to what's happening in Palestine right now, we know that it's been happening for decades, right? For decades, decades, decades. The occupation, a similar thing happened as well before. It was called the Nakba. And so if you don't know, please educate yourself. But really, my last thing is I wonder, Coco, if you knew in your time, when you were still alive, what was happening in Palestine. I'm very curious. I'm very, very curious of that. And I don't know, I guess I wonder if you know if your grandparents knew about it. Do your grandparents know about it? What's happening in Palestine? Are you talking about it with other people? Are you informing other people about it? This is part of the revolution. This is part of the freedom fighting, is to keep talking about it, is to keep sharing about all of the injustices that are happening, what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in the Congo, what's happening in Tigray, what's happening in Sudan, and all of this about resources. All of this is about the resources that they want to harvest out of these places where the people are a collateral damage that they don't really care about. So we're really, really lacking access to our humanity. I saw that in 2023, we're lacking access to our humanity, because I used to think to myself, I was like, how can these things happen? Like, how did people allow apartheid to happen in South Africa? How do people allow the occupation to happen? How do people allow, all of these injustices to happen? But in 2023, we were really live streamed. We saw live how this thing can happen. And we also saw that we can come together and we can revolt, and that a revolution is obviously something that happens over time. But it's very unfortunate that this is what it is, that we have to say it's over time, it's over time, it's over time. But we have to be patient and we have to keep going. And I really loved a video that I watched today. Was a speech that Valerie Kaur was giving to, I think, like a couple of years ago, but it came up on social media again today because one of the pages that I follow posted it. And, she said many, 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 many beautiful things. But one of the key things that she said was, today we breathe and tomorrow we push. Today we breathe and tomorrow we push. So I'm asking you to push along with me and everybody around the world that is really working to help the folks that are suffering all kinds of injustices. I know that we all are faced with all sorts of injustices, but our hearts are big enough to hold all of the injustices, to tend to each of them. If we breathe and then we push. If we breathe and then we push. So thank you so much, Valerie, for that. Really, really powerful as well. So breathe, kokumoya, and then push. Call your MPs. Call your reps. Protest. Get out into the streets. Boycott. Sign the petitions. Keep talking about it. Share. Educate yourself. Become self-aware. Let's not let history keep repeating itself. Let's not let history keep repeating itself. The empires are falling. The empires are falling. We are seeing it. We are feeling it. The empires are falling. And Gugu, you weren't here to see it in your lifetime, but I'm seeing it in my lifetime, that the empires are crumbling. They are crumbling. And we are so much stronger when we are together. We are so much stronger when we can all make collective effort and push. So thank you so much for joining me in this episode of Sound on Siren, this season called Conversations with My Grandmother. I have been Imbali Blooming, your gracious host, and I look forward to seeing you folks next week for another episode. Episodes will always come out every Wednesday. You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on all streaming platforms. Take care of yourselves, of the other people around you. Today, we breathe. Tomorrow, we push.